In the jungles of Malaya, a war is brewing. Thousands of Malayan communist guerrillas prepare to take on the might of the British Empire. The first deadly shots are fired one day in June 1948. Malaya is engulfed by violence. An emergency is declared.
What do you know about the communist insurgent?
The communist insurgent is the period where the communists are fighting the British, trying to chase away the British out of the country. Because after the Japanese surrender in 1945, they should be given a place, because during the Japanese occupation, the communists had been fighting the Japanese. But then the country was handed over to the British. So that's why the communists are not satisfied. Then they tried to chase away the British out of the country.
In early 1942, the Second World War brings British rule in Asia to an abrupt end. In February, after a lightning campaign, the Japanese drive the British from Malaya and Singapore. It is a humiliating defeat. But a cadre of British officers stay on to fight the Japanese, the renowned Force 136. Hidden in the jungle, the British recruit small units of Malayans and train them to harass the Japanese and prepare for liberation. Force 136 also forges close bonds with a much bigger guerrilla army, the 7,000-strong Malayan People's Anti-Japanese Army, the MPAJA, and backs them with arms and equipment to fight the common enemy. But this jungle ally is a communist front.
My second question is, how old were you during the communist insurgent?
Well, it started when I was a baby, I should say. But then it continues until I was in standard 1, standard 2, that means 6, 7 years old. So, well, it's a time that I already knew something that was not very stable.
In 1945, Allied armies finally defeat the Japanese, and the British are back. At victory parades, the MPAJA make sure they have a prominent role, posing as conquerors of the Japanese. Marching with them is a charismatic young man regarded by the British as their most trusted guerrilla. His name, Chin Peng. The British gratefully award him the Order of the British Empire. Even though the war is over, the communists do not return all their weapons. Chin Peng will soon become a painful thorn in the British side. The British, bankrupted by the war, tighten their grip. They will not give up Malaya's valuable raw materials without a fight. But the world has changed. The empire is crumbling, and a vibrant Malayan nationalist movement has begun to agitate for independence. But it is the communists who make the most pressing demands. They want the British, their former allies in the Jungle War, to be expelled by force of arms.
I'll proceed to the third question.
Okay.
As far as you know, what actually initiated the insurgents?
When the British took over, the communists were not satisfied, and they wanted to take over the administration of the country. So they tried to chase the British away. So that is the initiation where they started, where the conflict between the British and the communists.
Murder, panic, pillage, arson. Malaya was engulfed in a life and death struggle. Communist terrorists from their jungle hideouts struck at Malaya's basic industries, intimidated labor, destroyed factories and machinery, wrecked communications, and murdered all those who dared defy.
How was the situation during the era?
Well, during that time, as far as I can remember, well, it was not very peaceful. Always in the frightening situation, because most of the some of the kampung people are gathered together and cordoned off by barbed wire. Especially the Chinese who are staying far apart near the jungle. They are collected and put into one area where the area is being cordoned off by the barbed wire to protect them from being intimidated by the communists, because the communists will come and disturb us to get food, supplies and medicines. So we are not actually happy and free, because every night there's a threat of communist attack. Okay, so every night we are getting together in a family, and we don't move around at night time, especially in the kampung, because that time kampung has no electricity, only this kerosene lamp.
The insurgency has become a war of terror. In 6 months, the communists have launched 1,274 attacks and killed more than 300 innocent civilians. Malaya, 1950. The British are fighting a war on terror against a guerrilla army led by Chin Peng, determined to establish a communist republic of Malaya. His guerrilla fighters attack at will, striking anywhere, at any time. Since the beginning of the emergency, the communists have launched 2,716 attacks and killed nearly 700 innocent civilians.
Is there any incident where you directly encountered with the communists?
Well, as far as we are concerned, no. But actually, the thing is this: we saw communists being killed and paraded in front of shop houses. This the British army by this Gurkha squad. The Gurkha squad mostly are from Nepal, the Nepalese. We call it Gurkha. So these people went inside, hunted the communists, killed them, and then one by one they carry to show us that they have killed the communists. So in fact, we as children was really scared. But we managed to approach the soldiers as before chocolates and biscuits.
The communist leadership has been decimated, and Chin Peng himself is in Thailand. The British step up the pressure on these hardcore communist brigades holding out inside Malaya. With the communists on the run, the British make sure that ordinary Malayans know that the emergency is being won, that the communists need no longer be feared. To ram the point home, security forces put on display communists killed in firefights, the fruits of victory. Even schoolchildren are not spared these grisly exhibitions. Malaya has endured 5 years of undeclared war, the emergency. In many parts of Malaya, the national mood has lifted. Casualties are falling, and the number of areas officially declared white continue to rise. The stage is at last set for independence. It is time to turn from bullet to ballot. Attention now focuses on a legendary Malayan, the father of independence, Tunku Abdul Rahman. Tunku is a veteran nationalist who chooses a democratic, non-violent route to win freedom. Now he is the leader of the New Alliance Party, a coalition of the Malay, Chinese and Indian parties. On the 31st of July 1955, Malayans go to the polls in a federal election.
The most significant feature of this national event was a merger of the three major parties representing the main races of Malaya into a political alliance to contest the election.
Turnout is an astonishing 85%. Tunku's alliance party sweeps the board, winning 51 out of 52 seats. Tunku himself becomes Malaya's first chief minister. But Malaya is still at war. The emergency has not ended. Now the burden of wrapping up once and for all falls on the shoulders of the new chief minister. Tunku takes immediate action. He offers an amnesty to the communist insurgents. Throw down your arms, or you will miss out on independence. Soon word comes from Thailand. The notorious communist leader Chin Peng wants to talk.
Hopes ran high, not only among the Baling townsfolk, but among all the people of Malaya, that by some miracle the communists would repent of the evil they had done and surrender for the good of the country. All necks craned for a glimpse of the #1 terrorist. There he is, that's him. Chin Peng, directly responsible for a brutal 7-year campaign of murder and terrorism against the ordinary people of Malaya.
He has come to negotiate, not surrender. Behind the scenes, the British are anxious that Tunku may give in. But he stands firm, and at noon the following day, the talks break down irrevocably. Chin Peng goes back to the jungle. He will fight on. Tunku returns to Kuala Lumpur without a peace deal, but the independence train is unstoppable. And on the 31st of August 1957, Tunku joyously proclaims that Malaya is a free nation at last.